Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for staying tuned to Rubbing Minds. This is the International Women's Month special brought to you by Lipton. And of course, the conversations continue. We're speaking to some of the most iconic women in Nigeria. We've just come from a powerful conversation with Senator Princess Florence Itagiwa. And now we've got something special for you as well. We're connecting with a woman who's a founder of Genevieve Magazine. She also started her journey as an advocate for breast cancer awareness with the Pink Ball, and she's also the author of Dust to Dew. By now you know who I'm talking about. She needs no introduction. Aunty Betty Irabor.
Hey,
hello and
Vimbai.
welcome. Hey. And you know what? Actually, let's start on that note of Aunty Betty, because you have maintained, and it comes very natural to you, this role as an auntie to so many women, no longer just in the industry. First it started in the media industry, but now, you know, with your chronicle, with your story about battling depression and so forth, you've become an auntie to the nation, pretty much. Was that an intentional transformation for you?
I think it was just pretty much easier for people to refer to me as an aunt because a lot of people I have related with, most of them are actually younger people, a different generation, because I like to roll with all the generations because I believe that we all learn from one another. So it just started and it seemed to have stuck, and I like it. Yes, I like it. So I'm Auntie Betty.
And, you know, of course, going straight into conversations about young women, not just young women, actually women and girls, and sort of just trying to develop our path and trying to take up our rightful space in society. You started the journey with regards to being a mouthpiece and giving us something that we can read and look and feel that made us proud to be African women with Genevieve Magazine. Was the journey always intentional about making sure that young women could see themselves, or women as a whole could see themselves positively represented in the media? Or, you know, where did the whole thought process come from?
It didn't start out as being intentional. What we wanted to do was to own a magazine that represented the women, that empowers, that connects with them through the stories that we share. It's pretty much about telling stories that haven't been told, or telling the stories differently and connecting with people. Because most of our features, most of our content reflect what is going on in people's lives and in the society and in people's minds. And I think one of the most beautiful things about that is that when people are able to connect with what you're offering, then it becomes so easy for you to build a brand that actually people can relate to. It's all about being relatable at the end of the day.
And so how do we as women take part in it? Because I love that you're talking about sort of like the organized nature of a conversation that has certainly taken on a life of its own now, and is had in so many different tones, so many different, even if you just look online, there's different levels of this conversation, from those who are saying, you know, patriarchy must end, to those who are saying that, guys, is it that serious? How best do we effectively engage?
I think first and foremost, it's very important that while we're empowering our women, that we do not tilt the scale too much against the men, because we're all collaborators in this drive for empowerment, gender parity, equality. I feel that we may not be where we're supposed to be, but we certainly have created a lot of awareness, and it's easier for everybody to join in the conversation. Definitely, online would have its own interpretation of what, for instance, feminism means to them. And you've seen it's gone from the hilarious to the downright
It's crazy.
So, but the thing is, the voices that are perpetuating the message will have to continue to be like determined, focused, not be distracted by what is going on social media, which really can be very distracting. You can actually drop the ball if you're not focused on what the message is, what the vision is, and what needs to be achieved at the end of the day.
I love that you're talking about that, about focusing on the messaging, not dropping the ball, because I find that this is a conversation that comes back to us as individuals. This is a quest for identity that ultimately we're embarking on as women, not just in Nigeria or in Africa, globally. We're searching deeper. But as somebody who has, become so astute with sort of mental health issues, how much of our conditioning, now I'm talking about here in Nigeria, as from the day we're born as girls, is what's leading us to be in this cycle, this ongoing cycle that we can't seem to break out of. And it's now coming out almost as aggression and anger often when you look at it on social media and so forth. We have to trace it back. And, how much do you think we are neglecting in formative years that can empower our young girls to be more at peace with themselves and with their identity so as to embark on the right journey for themselves?
I think as parents, it's very important how we start to raise our children and some of the conversations that we need to be having with them. I think one of the conversations that were never held was mental health. So that was why it became like the biggest stigma ever for a woman and a man, for that matter, to come out to say, I am going through something that I really do not understand at the moment. Most homes, especially when your parents have pastoral background, the first thing you get to hear is that I rebuke that it's lack of faith. For you to feel depressed is because you don't have enough faith. And many children, having been discouraged to actually articulate how they're feeling, sweep it under the carpet. But then it's a mine, it's a landmine. And no one can tell when you actually step on a mine. So happily now we're having that conversation very openly. And it's going to be a conversation, like most conversations, the effect won't be in 1 year or 2 years. It has to be ongoing. And I'm so happy that, having battled depression myself, I feel liberated enough to continue with that conversation by coming out to admit that, indeed, I may be a strong woman, but I am not immune to some of the elements that can rock my boat. And one of that was depression. So in telling my story, I'm also encouraging other women not to feel like it's their fault. It's an illness, and there's treatment for it.
Incredible conversation with Auntie Betty Irabor here on Rubbing Minds. Don't move, guys. Plenty more pearls of wisdom dropping after this intermission. This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for staying glued to your screens. I know this is a conversation you couldn't have torn yourself away from. We're sitting down with a renowned publisher, author, and advocate, Betty Irabor, who is she is digging deep for this one. I'm so grateful for this opportunity,
I'm
right?
loving it, yes.
I want to go back to a point that you made that really struck a chord with me, and that's about being a strong woman. Because especially in our culture, being a strong woman, that phrase means endurance. I think the main word that comes to mind is endurance.
Yeah.
Endure it. Whether it be it's almost that like the journey of a woman from beginning to end.
Be enduring.
Be patient, long suffering.
Long suffering. I hate that word. Long suffering. And
how do we start to break it down to women?
Yes.
Those who are watching now, to know that strength is also in being able to say, I'm not okay today. And also, these are my parameters for a safe zone for me. This is not safe for me anymore.
First and foremost, we should appreciate our vulnerability. It's not a sign of weakness. You have to be strong enough to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And the hashtag strong woman does not mean that you do not have days that you don't feel so strong. And that has been demonstrated by the fact that I suffered a mental health breakdown that spanned 7 years. And a lot of people couldn't understand, but you're a strong woman, but you have achieved this much, but you're phenomenal. The thing is with mental health breakdown, you do not see yourself as strong. You see yourself as weak. You see yourself as a loser. And it doesn't have anything to do with what you have achieved. It's just that that particular phase of your life, all you feel is that you're a loser. You're not good enough. You're not beautiful enough. All the insecurities come out to play. And it has nothing to do with whether you have a stable marriage, whether you're successful in your job, whether you have so much money in your account. It's just that mental health happens to everyone, including the so-called strong woman who goes out there to win and win. What do you say about the bag?
Securing the bag.
Who secures the bag? So I think we should also take it easy on ourselves, to allow ourselves to not feel so okay, to be able to accept that I'm in a place where I don't understand right now. Right now, I don't feel that beautiful. I don't feel that strong. All the insecurities, all the demons have come out to play, and I need help.
What are the coping mechanisms, though? Because, I mean, I'm 33. Yeah. There's the pressure to get married. Even if you internally don't have it, externally everybody's looking at you like, sis, soon, time is ticking. There's an expiry date of 30 on the life of a young African woman. Shelf life, you know. Yeah. There's that. There's women who are doing incredible things, young women who are changing the world, so now you need a career as well. Yeah. People are having children, people are carrying designer bags, people are wearing the nicest hair. What are the practical coping mechanisms as a young woman that you can practice at home so that you can actually just keep your feet on the ground in this world where all around us right now, you wake up in the morning, it's pressure?
I think first and foremost, do not allow any labeling for your life. Wherever you are now, be comfortable with that place. Whether you're 30, still single, whether you've been married 3 years, the children haven't come, whether your career compared to your best friends doesn't look so rosy, whether your friend lives in her own house and you're still a tenant. The important thing is stay authentic. The pressure of extravagant wedding. People are going broke, trying to impress the Joneses, who are themselves broke. So who are you trying to impress?
You know, before the break, you were telling us about a 7-year breakdown. And, you know, one would think that somebody who went through 7 years, that's almost a decade of finding themselves and trying to mend themselves, yet here you are. You know, what are the processes? I know you talk a lot about reinvention, you talk a lot about redefining yourself. Can you take us through what that looks like?
I had a choice coming out of depression to either reinvent myself or hold on to an old narrative about how life was very unfair to me. And my choice was to find purpose in my story. And what was I going to do with the experience? Hide because of the stigma? I had that choice as well. And coming out of depression was like a second, third chance again to live. And I'm living fully. And each day is very, very precious for me. Sometimes I still get anxious, which is one of the symptoms of depression. You get anxious, sometimes you're afraid. I wake up in the morning, and when that negative voice tries to penetrate my joy, I affirm I'm beautiful. I am not afraid. Fear has no hold over me. I am Betty Irabor. I am the founder of Genevieve. I'm the mother. So I speak life. I speak beauty. I speak strength and courage into my being. And my being absorbs that. And I get ready to go out and take what is mine.
And, you know, talking about holding ourselves accountable, let's look at that age group, you know, the 45 to 65, that window, which I'm really looking forward to stepping into, you know, in the next decade. But
I hope you're ready for menopause as well.
Oh, Auntie B, don't take me there, I'm not ready.
No, trust me, menopause isn't what it used to be when it was only the women in their 50s and 60s. There are 39-year-old people who are going through menopause, but that's not the. Yes, don't look so alarmed.
Wow. I am alarmed. I don't want to laugh.
So
I'm counting
look
the
at
years.
us and think, oh, I still got, yeah, you've got many years, you know. But it's amazing how our bodies are changing.
And still talking about, you know, being in this beautiful generation and this beautiful season that you're in, where a lot of us are looking up to you, and you've also become a decision maker. I always go back to a quote by Winnie Mandela, where she speaks about, you know, we women being the chief custodians of patriarchy in society. That often you find that if there's a woman who went through whatever travails she went through as a young adult and so forth, later on in life, she's the first likely candidate to ensure that other young women go through the same struggles. How far true do you think that is in this current era? Especially amongst, maybe not with yourself, you're progressive, but amongst your peers. Are you seeing a shift where older women are feeling like, no, just because we passed through this doesn't mean this generation needs to go through it as well?
I think if I look back at the way I was raised to be a strong woman because I was raised by a very tenacious single mom who didn't see being a single mom as a handicap. So we learned very early in life to earn our stripes, to work hard. You want your dinner, work towards it. So I've always felt very strong. I'm very proud of my mom. In raising my children many years ago, I wasn't quite intentional about raising them to be strong. There are some mistakes that we all made. We still repeated some of the mistakes our parents made by, for instance, like you're in the kitchen, you call your daughter to join you in the kitchen, the boy is probably lounging somewhere. And sometimes when I have conversations with them, I actually apologize for some of the things that I felt I could have done differently. But luckily, they turned out very, very well. They've turned out very well.
We've taken a lot from this conversation, you know, not just aging with grace, but aging with purpose, and knowing that there's meaning in every season, and we're looking forward to the new book on reinvention and you know, this new chapter of your life as well. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for, Auntie Betty.
I love
this
that.
Has been incredible.
Amazing.
I'm going to keep this interview and take notes because you've honestly just shared so much knowledge and wisdom here.
Lastly, don't be afraid of menopause.
It's don't be afraid. You saw my reaction.
We're all going to get there.
Oh, we're all going to get there, but 39.
Yeah, but knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Everything, every season of our lives, it's very important that we have knowledge ahead about that season so that we can tweak a few things about our lifestyle, live more intentionally.
We need to have a whole other conversation about what menopause does to us, to our femininity, and to because it's another identity.
Yes,
you know, another facet of identity.
But it's fine. We talk about menopause now.
Yes,
it used to be something that we couldn't talk about because it meant you were old. But who's afraid to be old?
All right, everybody, that was Auntie Betty Irabor. Wow, is all I can say. I'm pretty sure your response is the same at home. Remember, you can catch us on social media. We absolutely love to hear from you. We're going to take a very, very quick breather and plenty more after this.
This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton.
Welcome back, everybody. What an incredible opportunity it is for us to be able to let you into some of these conversations. I saw Ebuka was like a fly on the wall, like, whoop, did that happen?
Just
You're
behind
sipping
the
on your
scenes,
tea, like, whoop, really?
That was great. That was great. I mean, I've seen a few interviews of Senator Florence Itagewa in the past, but this one, there was something different about it, just seeing her in her element and, you know, talking about all the experience she's garnered over the years. So that was definitely good.
I didn't realize it was still so rough.
Yes,
on the
it is still
level.
very, I mean, you can tell. You can tell by what the picture is generally with women in politics. It says a lot about that. And of course, with the wife of the governor, a lot of first ladies don't necessarily do those kind of interviews, giving us their perspective on leadership. So
I'm talking about money.
Very important. I'm always here for a money conversation. So that was very good. Well done. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll keep working out our muscles so that we can bring them plenty more good content.
Amazing stuff. Well, like I always say, you can follow the conversation on Twitter at Rubbing Minds now is the handle. Please use the hashtag Rubbing Minds when you tweet at us. And I'll see you next Sunday.